Morning, folks. Deadline day, and Jer here with the news. And there's really only one place to start. I have delayed this video going out so that I can get as much information as I can possibly find on what has actually happened with the Cody Gakpo deal. Going to talk about that, trying to give you as much detail in order of what's happened, taking in Romano's tweets and information, content from The Athletic, Phil Hay, also from James Marshman, as well as some sources in Holland to try and give you a full picture of what's gone on there. Talking about the Dan James situation and what's happening with him and possibly being used as a little bit of a scapegoat. And then some slight rumour, that's just rumour, but we'll go through it. And at the end, I'm just going to tell you all of the strikers that Leeds have been linked with so far in this window, because apparently Victor Orta has a long list of players for every single position, and we'll see if any of them are on this list. So let's start off with the Cody Gakpo situation. Last night, Fabrizio Romano put this tweet out, claiming that Leeds were now in pole position to sign the PSV player. I went to bed about 1 o'clock, thought this is done and dusted, no issues. You wake up this morning to a tweet from Phil Hay, who says that the deal is off because PSV rejected the bid from Leeds. Now, some sources are saying that didn't happen, and some are saying that it did. So to balance this out, let's go through it. Apparently last night, Victor Orta travelled to Eindhoven after Gakpo had apparently said his goodbyes. Leeds had put a bid of €45 million in, which is roughly around £38.9 million. That bid is now said, according to Romano, that bid was accepted. It was $5 million more than Southampton were willing to offer. The player then agreed terms with Leeds while Orta was in Eindhoven, met with the player and his representatives, and apparently, all done and dusted, deal agreed, job done. Plane was chartered for this morning to bring Gakpo and his family and Orta back to Leeds to finalise the deal. Then apparently Louis van Gaal, the former Manchester United and current Dutch national manager, got involved and apparently has told Gakpo not to move until after the World Cup. Presumably that's because he knows there might be other clubs interested in him, that his value will go up, and maybe even Manchester United are interested in him. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's the manager who has tried to stop Leeds getting PSV players in the past, and you've got Louis van Gaal, the national team manager. So maybe there's something in that, and we'll have to wait and see. Again, the next thing that happened was that, according to James Marshman, the player is said to be the one who changed his mind this morning. So all done and dusted last night. Player then decided this morning that he didn't want to go after these conversations were had with Van Gaal and Van Nistelrooy. So, by all accounts, this was a done deal last night. Boxed off clean until other people got involved in it. Leeds are now said to have said they will go back for the player in January, which I think we all can say we won't. Because by the time the World Cup is over, should Holland have a decent World Cup and should Gakpo play in that team, his value will increase significantly by then. Also, I don't believe it's the World Cup as the reason why he's been asked to stay. I think there's bigger clubs that are looking at him possibly in January. So that looks like that's it for Gakpo. It might not be. Stranger things have happened on deadline days. We've had 11th-hour transfers on numerous occasions in this particular summer window. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. On the other side to this, and the flip on this, is the Dan James situation. And I'm really starting to feel sorry for Dan James. He has been continuously hung out to dry as a scapegoat with Leeds. And I don't think it's fair on the player, and I don't think he's got a proper chance. He's played out of position for Leeds in a number 9 position when he has said himself he is not a striker. He never played there before Leeds and was pushed into that. He did the very literal side before self situation with Leeds and has been widely criticised by Leeds fans for doing this because he's not a good enough striker. Not his fault. It's not his position. He probably doesn't fit Jesse Marsh's system right now, and that's probably the reason they're looking at offloading him. But Dan James is now said to be having a medical today on the off chance that he should have to leave Leeds. Fulham came in yesterday evening with what is said to have been a cash bid for the player rather than a loan to buy, which Spurs are looking at. And Everton are also said to be interested in the player. Now, if you look at how Everton played against Leeds and that counter-attacking that they did, Dan James would fit that style of play perfectly and would probably be very successful in that role. But I do feel like Dan James has been held up as a bit of a scapegoat here. Well, if we can't get Dan James out, then we can't get a player in, you know, and that's not fair on the player. He hasn't done a whole lot wrong, bar try, for Leeds, you know, and I do feel sorry for him. So that's the situation with James. Fulham and Everton looking at possibly buying him now at this stage. Maybe meaning Anthony Gordon is going to leave Everton, bringing a player to replace him. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on today as well. The worst case scenario is we bring in nobody and we sell James. That would be a disaster. So moving on to news that isn't real, and I'm just going to say it out loud. Leeds News 365, whatever they put out there, 99% of it isn't even close to reality. They put a comment out yesterday saying that Leeds were going to miss out on Dest, the left back at Barcelona. Leeds have never been linked with that player, ever. It's just clickbait now at this stage. And they've also said this morning, along with the Mail Sport, that apparently Kai Wagner with Philadelphia Union is sitting by the phone and waiting on a call from Leeds. If they wanted to get Wagner over to Leeds to do the deal, he should be on a plane now. They can still do the deal remotely. That is possible. They can get contracts faxed over and back and signed, and they can get medicals done in local facilities. There's no issue there. But the chances of that, I'm given the sources it's coming from, it's probably dead in the water. I don't see that happening. And I might be coming across as a little bit more negative today than normal. Probably because I was very positive last night going to bed, and it hasn't worked out particularly well. But to move on to that list, this morning we've also been linked with a Brazilian striker from Flamengo called Pedro, who's got 20 goals and 58 appearances. He's 25 years of age, but he's only played 4 times since going on loan to Flamengo. So I don't think that's a real one either. That's come in from Leeds Live. So again, I wouldn't think there's anything in that. So let's go through the strikers that Leeds have been linked with so far, and let's see if any of these are going to be on Victor Orta's list. And you can let me know in the comments if you think any of these are real, any of these are complete lies, or if you think we'll sign one of these. And we'll go through it. So Hwang from Wolves, Dieng from Marseille, Gnonto from Zurich, Terrier from Rennes, Burton Diaz at Blackburn, Ollie Watkins at Aston Villa, Ismail Sarr at Watford, Christian Pulisic at Chelsea, Kalajic at Stuttgart has now gone to Wolves, Callum Wendu from PSG, who has now gone to Rennes, Moise Keane, who is at Juve, De Ketelaere, who's now gone to AC Milan, Broja, who's still at Chelsea and a possibility, Shea Adams, that's at Southampton, and also then Cody Gakpo this morning, and now Brazilian striker Pedro, who've all been linked. That is an incredibly large list of players that have been linked with Leeds in one position. That's just a one position. And I think we can probably say that most of them aren't true. But given the state that we're in now, there's an issue here. Leeds have publicly put 40 million on the table for De Ketelaere. They've now done the exact same for Gakpo. If you're a selling club and Leeds are looking at your striker, you know how much money Leeds are willing to spend, and you know Leeds are possibly a little bit desperate at this stage of the window, so you can jack up your prices. That's going to be an interesting one and possibly ill-advised. I think I said it yesterday. Programme notes from Angus Kinnear bordered on gaslighting, and Radrazani liking a tweet about Leeds being interested in Gakpo, also gaslighting and incredibly arrogant when you haven't got a deal done and haven't got the deal done. Now, I'll caveat all that by saying it is very possible that something could change and he could be talked around and the deal could still be done. The negotiations are all completed. It's just about convincing the player. It may happen. I think right now it's probably 80% against happening, but there's that 20% of hope. And as we always say, it's the hope that kills you. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. We have pulled aces out of our sleeves in the past. Can we do it again today? We will be streaming at 10 o'clock tonight for the last hour of the window to see if anything happens today. But the worst case scenario would be that nobody comes in and Dan James goes out. And we'll have to wait and see. I will hopefully have Alex or Michael from the American Elites podcast joining me tonight as well. If I can arrange things. I'm trying to get things sorted to get the guys on. So we'll see what happens. We'll be on this channel tonight at 10 p.m. for the last hour of the window if you want to join in and have a chat, see where we are, and see if we sign these players that we've been linked with, or even just one of them. I think if we can get a striker today, a decent level striker, I think it's a positive transfer window. But it all depends on today. And Leeds have left themselves in a position where they could get caught with their pants down and be taking a huge gamble again. If you haven't got someone who can score goals, and we saw that last year, it doesn't really matter how much you create. We need a goal scorer. And with Rodrigo being out for anything between 2 to 6 to 14 weeks, depending on the severity of the shoulder injury, it will depend. It is clear and obvious that Leeds need to bring somebody in. So we'll have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I will talk to you later on this evening with the live stream, and then tomorrow morning with the news. See you then.